Hey, everybody. All right. So early voting is already on the way. Okay. So it starts February 17th through the 27th, and voting day is March the 3rd. So just want to send that quick reminder. All right. So I've had a couple people actually ask me, where do I go to vote? All right. So if you live in Nueces County, I'm going to just tell you where you can go to view to find out where your voting locations will be. All right, so you can go on to the Nueces County website. So that's nuecesco.com. All right, so I'm going to just share really quickly with you and get you to where to go. How do I view it? All right, so here we go. So important dates, early voting locations, boom, right there. It even has early voting locations, Google Maps. So right here, it shows you your locations. All right. So if you need to know where you need to go to early vote, this is the best place to look at. I'll actually put a post of this particular PDF on my page. All right. So that's the first thing. This next thing is that also on this particular website is the sample ballots. This is really interesting. I didn't even know this actually existed. So I'm going to also walk you through that as well to show you what a sample ballot is. Why am I sharing this with you? Well, because I think it's very important again, to be an educated voter and for you to be familiar with the voting process and the ballots here and how it works. So you might live in a different precinct. So if you live in a different precinct, you're going to want to, let me just go back to share this tab. Let me go back to this one. You're going to want to find out which precinct you live in. Okay, so for me, I actually live in precinct 69. Okay, you can actually find that on your voter's registration card to find out if you don't know what precinct you live in. Okay, so 69, boom. All right, so that's me. So here is, let me see up on top here, 69. All right, so if you notice, okay, yeah. So I'm going to go back to click on this for you. All right. Pull this up. All right, so precinct 69, there it is. Okay, so one thing that's really, really important also that as I looked at the ballot, just looking at it to see, I just wanted to look through it and see who was all there. I didn't realize that depending on your county, again, where you live, they could, like, for example, Nueces County was split into 2 districts. So there may be some representative that are not in your precinct. And you may see signs out there as you're going, maybe different places that you're traveling around the city and you see signs for certain people that may not be on the ballot because they don't represent your precinct. Okay. Another thing that's really important to note is that, so for example, for Congress, the congressional seat that is for District 34, you might notice on this particular ballot, I'm just going to show this as an example. This is my precinct and again, this may be for anybody. So this is anywhere where you have an election taking place. This is very important information for you to know. So these particular people on this list were all people who were running for Congress for District 34. However, not everybody some people have actually dropped from the race. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Fred Hinojosa is no longer running for Congress. Scott Mandel dropped out of the race. Jay Nagy dropped out of the race. Okay. So they're going to be still on the ballot, but they are no longer a candidate, or they're no longer running. Okay. They dropped out of the race. So if you see a sign, which I've seen signs for Scott Mandel, I don't know why they didn't take the signs down, but it could be very confusing to people. He is no longer in the race. So don't vote for him. All right. So these are the candidates who are still in the race: Keith Allen, Gregory Scott Kunkel, Louis Bontello, Meyer Flores, and Eric Flores. All right. So those are the candidates. So again, you want to make sure that you know if there's names on there, are they even still running? You want to make sure. So you can absolutely get a sample ballot, again, on the Nueces County website. But if you don't live in Nueces County, if you live somewhere else, you should be able to get a sample ballot. All right. So something else I want to make you aware of. And again, a lot of these things people are not familiar with, and they may not be familiar with. I know I was not familiar with all of these things until, again, I became a precinct chair and I'm learning them. All right, so there's also going to be propositions on the ballot. All right, so there are Republican propositions and there are Democratic propositions. And I also will share a snippet of all the propositions that are going to be on the ballot if you are running Republican. Okay. But if you're a Democrat, you also might want to take a look at the propositions that are on the ballot for your party. Okay. So the propositions I'm just going to read through just an example, just a couple of different examples of the propositions that are there. And then I'm going to explain to you how these propositions work. Okay, so Texas property taxes should be assessed at the purchase price and phased out entirely over the next 6 years through spending reductions. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and say yes on that one. Texas should require any local government budget that raises property taxes to be approved by voters at a November general election. 100. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so again, there's 10 propositions. You can take your time to go through them, read through them, see what you agree to and what you don't agree to. And then what happens, just explain to you what happens. So it's appearing on the ballot during this particular election. So the voters, which is us, can see the proposition listed along with the basically what it is that they're trying to propose, or what the proposition will be. If the required percentage of voters, usually a simple majority of 50%, vote yes, the proposition will pass. All right. So will it become law? So once certified, a statute goes into effect on a specified date. A constitutional amendment changes the state constitution, and the state officials must implement it. All right. So for example, Colorado voters legalized recreational marijuana through a ballot initiative in 2012. This is why these proposals are so important, for you to know what they are and for you to vote accordingly. Okay. So again, political parties, Democrat and Republicans, may support or oppose a proposition, but ultimately the voters decide directly, not the parties. Okay, so you're deciding. Now the parties will put the propositions out, but we get to decide. All right, so courts can still strike down a proposition if it violates the U.S. Constitution. All right, so again, for example, California's Proposition 8 was later overturned by the courts. All right, so here's in simple terms. If a proposition gets enough valid signatures, goes on the ballot, gets enough yes votes, it becomes a law in the state. So that is really important. Okay, so you want to make sure that you are paying attention to those propositions, read them, understand them, and make sure that you're paying attention to them so that you know what they are. All right. Um, yeah, so that is all that I have for now. Just again, make sure that when you are doing your voting, make sure you're not voting for a brochure that you got in the mail or a sign that you saw. Make sure you know who you're voting for. Make sure you're not voting for charisma or for looks or for money. Make sure that you are voting for someone who has integrity, someone who has character, and someone who know is going to be a voice for you. And whether that's for a local judge or that's for Congress or that's for whatever is on that ballot, whoever is on that ballot. Governor of Texas, there's a governor run. I know Texas, I know Ohio. I have a lot of Ohio people that may be watching this. It's really important that you get out and vote. Make sure you know who your local candidates are, because it's very important that you know who your local candidates are, who's running for what. Your attorney, we have in the Texas ballot, we do have attorney general, we have the lieutenant governor running, we have U.S. senators running. These are all extremely important roles. So make sure again that you are educated voter. Don't be one of those voters who, oh, I just pick whoever. I just kind of like check off a box. Don't do that. Make sure you know who you're voting for. Do your homework. Be educated. Be a smart voter. Be a responsible voter. And most of all, I represent the Republican Party, so vote Republican.